Two state agencies have launched investigations into a daycare in Franklin after a woman says she was fired for blowing the whistle on mistreatment of her own son.
The state says it's investigating the mother's claims that her son was sprayed with bleach to keep him quiet. Our Call 6 investigator Stephen Dean found it's not the first time punishment at the facility has been called into question. Stephen.
Well, daycare leaders say it wasn't punishment at all this time. It was an accident, they say. So they say there was no reason to take any action against the worker or report it to the state. But a 10-year-old child and his mother say he was doused with bleach as punishment. So the agency that licenses daycares, the State Family and Social Services Administration, is investigating. The heavy splotches washed out the color up and down the sleeve of 10-year-old Jalen Ward, and his mom is telling state investigators all of this was caused by bleach being sprayed on him by a worker at the daycare where the mom worked as well.
Really hurt his feelings where he didn't even want to go back in that room after that. He would do anything to try to keep from going into that teacher's room. He was so scared to be in there.
Southard says she complained about the treatment to her bosses, who were also her son's caretakers at Kid Company Daycare in Franklin. But first, she says she grabbed her son to wash off the bleach.
And he was scratching his hand, saying it was real itchy and stuff, and his hand was red.
The mom says bottles of bleach were kept in every room to disinfect surfaces. She says while she was working here, she could never imagine turning this and aiming it at a child out of anger. She says her son got blasted with it because he interrupted a new worker.
I couldn't believe they didn't suspend her immediately. She should have been sent home immediately and suspended, and she wasn't.
The Kid Company Daycare has similar sounding trouble in its past. Inspectors with State Family and Social Services issued 4 citations in October 2010 for using harsh or frightening discipline on a child. In a different inspection that same month, KidCo was cited for failing to report allegations of abuse or neglect immediately as required. In December 2010, 5 citations, including 1 for failing to report to the state when a child was forgotten on a daycare bus. Now, FSSA and Child Protective Services are both investigating the mom's report of bleach being used as punishment, and she says just like they have in the past, the daycare failed to report it to the state as required.
They told me that they would handle it and call CPS and get things taken care of.
She says weeks passed and the employee was still around children, so she threatened to call CPS, and that's when she was fired. She showed state inspectors this letter from a coworker at the daycare who wrote she witnessed the son being sprayed for punishment as well. When Call 6 investigators arrived at the daycare, staff showed us the bleach bottles they used to clean. This woman even sprayed it on the pants of her clothes to show it's just not a strong enough mixture to stain clothing, they say. The daycare's director, Elaine Roldan, says her employee was not punishing or angry when it happened, but she said the boy was sure lashing out.
The teacher was cleaning the table. This child has behavioral issues and was mad at the teacher. The teacher sprays the table, wipes it down, sprays the table, wipes it down. So as she was spraying the table, he threw his hand on the table.
Roldan says she did not notify the state this time because she didn't consider it an actual allegation of abuse. She said it only became a formal complaint the day a disgruntled employee, the boy's mom, was fired.
This parent, who also worked here, was okay until she got fired.
Now, Southland, the mom, denies that and says she was fired on trumped-up charges. Now, it is important to point out that the daycare has passed numerous inspections in the past with absolutely no violations, but now 2 different state agencies are going to be looking into exactly what happened here and whether citations are issued here.
So, Stephen, what will those investigators focus on first?
First thing they're going to look for is whether or not there were any cameras inside the daycare that captured all of this, but then the focus turns to whether the daycare was required to report the allegations of abuse, and that is even if no abuse is ever confirmed. So just the allegation has to be investigated and reported to the state, and the rules are very clear on that. That's why we're going to keep an eye on it.
Tight restrictions. I'm sure you will.
Yes.
Stephen, thanks.